Hello everyone. For the month of September, I'm going to be talking all about books. So this first video, I'm just going to cover some book basics. I did a little bit of research and just kind of conceptual, like foundational things that kids should be using books for. So the first one's kind of sad. The average American adult spends 15 minutes a day reading, which is not very long when you think about how many minutes are in a day and all the things that reading can do for us. I also stumbled upon something called the million-word gap, which is essentially a theory of students who, or children who grow up in a poverty kind of stricken environment, are exposed to less words than children who are in a wealthier family. So the million-word gap is something to look into if you're interested in that. It's just connecting reading to children and then their success in reading in the future. So lower income families usually don't have that same experience because the parents are working a lot. They're trying to make ends meet, typically. A 2019 study I found showed that 25% of caregivers never read to the children that they take care of. So if both parents are working outside of the home and they're taking their child or their children to another establishment to take care of them, there's a 25% chance that they're not being read to, which blows my mind as a former teacher, that you would not read to kids and if you had them all day. So just kind of something to think about. Whenever you can sneak in reading to your kids is a great time. I also found that reading 5 books a day before kids go into kindergarten, like if you're reading 5 books every day to them, by the time they get to kindergarten, they've heard 1.4 million words more than kids who were never read to. Even if you only read 1 book a day, instead of 5, just 1 book a day, they're still read, or they've still heard 290,000 more words than kids who weren't read to by the age of 5, which is mind-blowing. So just picking up a little book and reading to them as often as you can make a huge difference in their literacy rates down the road. So there are lots of things that can benefit when you read to kids, lots of skills they're kind of building. They are listening, so they can listen to a lot more complex words compared to writing and speaking. So any parent knows that kids understand even before they're able to articulate language. They definitely understand language. They can understand tone. They can understand lots of things. And then once they learn to speak it, that's when kind of all the pieces start to connect and put together. So I just put together just a few things that I found reading to kids can help. So it builds their language skills. A lot of times in books they are talking, so they can see how conversations happen, they can see different words. It gives you connection with your kids. Just sitting on the couch or the bed or wherever and snuggling with them and reading a book just builds your relationship. It helps to develop their brain. It fosters a love of learning and a love of reading, and it improves future reading skills. You're also modeling for them how to read correctly. They hear words that are not as common maybe in your conversations in your house, and just a different way of hearing the same word, maybe in a different way in a different sentence, or just how it's used differently in books as opposed to conversationally. So for my girls, I really focus on reading, making sure I read the title and the author and illustrator, and then kind of talking about what those mean. So the title is going to tell you what the book is about, the author is who wrote it, and illustrators who drew the pictures. Sometimes the author and illustrator are the same person, sometimes they're different, sometimes they work together, sometimes they kind of collaborate from a distance. So there's lots of things that you can kind of tell your kids about the book before you even read it. And then there are lots of different kind of rules for finding a good book. When I was teaching, I would tell them to read a few pages, and if they struggled with 5 words or more on like the first 2 or 3 pages, that probably wasn't the best book for them. But there are lots of different things that you can teach your kids. I don't really like, some teachers and some parents will pick specific books based on their child's skill level and only have those books available for them. I really want them, like if we go to the library or if they're at a friend's house or wherever, that they have some skills that they're able to decide what book is right for them without mommy or the teacher kind of predetermining that. So teaching them how to find an appropriate book, I think, is a really important skill too. And then I just wanted to go through a couple genres that I really like reading. Fantasy, of course, for your younger kids. A lot of picture books are fantasy. You can even get into sci-fi if your kids are into, like, I don't know, I call Star Wars sci-fi. I don't know if that's technically what it is, but just those kinds of things. There are lots of books and comics and things on that. Adventure, mystery, historical fiction is very interesting to read and incorporate in your homeschool life. And then, of course, biographies and autobiographies are great to learn about people that you admire or people that you want to kind of spotlight for your kids. So hopefully that gave you some food for thought. And if you have a moment to pick up a book and read to your child, or if your child asks to be read to, find those little nuggets of time in your day to sit down and read just a quick little book with them, and you're just investing and you're planting those seeds for the future.